So this takes us up to when we put this. So we had the seasons, and when we just changed the seasons to the zodiac, we got our basic mandala. We have the solstices and the equinoxes dividing the seasons. We have the signs moving around. It's Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces at the beginning in the winter, Aries, Taurus, Gemini in spring, Cancer, Leo, Virgo in the summer, Libra, Scorpio, Sag in the fall. And with this, you have the 8 trigrams, and each of the trigrams has it's the 8. This is called the Eightfold Path of the Buddha, or the Eightfold Path of the Soul. And each trigram has a family member, has a nature symbol, and has a characteristic. And those characteristics and those symbols are related to that section of the year. So there's an interrelation between them, even though sometimes they seem a little contradictory, like we have the fire in the Pisces area, but the fire in the Pisces area with the warmth of the spring, of the ending of winter, and the clarity that's coming and the light increasing, even though it's a water sign. So there's the relationship between these two. There's lots of room to study this or think of this. So in the Orient, they would just draw it like this. They wouldn't so much they wouldn't divide this, show this. Sometimes you see a drawing with the squares, but usually you would see there's a symbol of the circle of the light. You can see the light from the beginning of Capricorn. You can see the yin yang, and the light is increasing, gets halfway from the center to end by the equinox and builds up to the biggest extent at the summer solstice. Then at the summer solstice, June 21st, then the darkness begins to increase up to December 22nd. So this is the perfectly balanced relationship of light to dark. Okay, and there's the trigrams going on measuring that, and the zodiac goes around that. So this is our correspondences that we've come to so far. And we went through this, but this is right. This is where you have the light and the dark, and you have the 4 combinations of light and dark in 2 lines, which is like you have the father and the mother, or the light and the dark. You have the 4 seasons, or the 4 grandparents. And then you have the 8 great-grandparents, or the 8 family members, the nuclear family, the father, the son, the mother, and the 3 sons and 3 daughters, the potentially perfect nuclear family. This logic of the family is interwoven within a lot of the hexagrams, and it puts a relation between a mother and father and how the kids relate. And this is a controversial thing in today's world because there's so much challenges about roles and relationships, about how it should be or shouldn't be. That's going on, but this represents a standard that was used for thousands of years. So even if we don't live the standard, you can see where you are against the standard, and you can get a bearings around using it. But mostly, you can begin to imagine the relationships between family members and check it out to see if it's so. Then there's a nature symbol and a characteristic. So the relations, these get, as they get put together, each planet has, each family member has a relationship to each other. Each nature symbol is a relationship to each of the others. Each characteristic is a relationship to each of the other characteristics. And you begin to get the contemplations and the depth that has come from many wise beings studying the trigrams, the hexagrams, and how they relate, and drawing their conclusions and giving advice about it. One of the things about the I Ching, and I guess if you say the main principle of the advice in the I Ching is summed up in 2 words: no blame. So you can live your life, you can be creative, and you can be receptive, but you can live it without, if you're too receptive or too laid back, you miss things. If you're too aggressive, you hurt people. So like where the balance is, that's the puzzle. But imagine every time we go off the balance, we develop guilt and sorrows, and we have blames, and it ties up, it twists our mind, ties us up so we're not living as clearly. So the I Ching is a constant advice to how to avoid troubles, how to avoid making guilt, how to keep aligned, it's so useful astrologically to be able to live without blame, without guilt, without casting blame, without having guilt. Wow, what a peace that would be. So again, this is just the link of them in a totem pole of mother, the three sons, three daughters, and the father. So you have the receptive Mother Earth. You have the keeping still. This is the keeping still, third sun mountain. They're not exactly in order. It's the second sun, the abysmal. The first daughter, the gentle penetrating windwood. Second sun was the abysmal water or dangerous water, which could be a storm. It could be a tempest. It could be a raging stream, or it could be a deep crevasse with water at the bottom of it. First daughter, gentle penetrating windwood. First sun is the arousing force, shock and thunder. Second daughter is the clinging fire. The third daughter is the joyous lake. The father is the creative heaven. Our Father who art in heaven. Okay. So we went through that a fair amount in the 2 classes ago. So what happens now is you begin to see really once you get the 8-fold path, it will divide in half. And the next line, we'll see it's divided in half. There's 4 broken and 4 solid, 4 broken and 4 solid. So each section divides in half. And then on the next line, next row, or next circle, they go 2 by 2, and it breaks up every 2. Divides, and on the outermost row, you see broken solid, broken solid, broken solid. They alternate. So they keep splitting, like, 8 grandparents, 16 great-great-grandparents, 32 great-great-grandparents, and 64 great-great-great-great-grandparents, like that. But each trigram has a relationship to each of the other trigrams. So the 8 trigrams are divided. I just jumped this into the 8. This is how it's normally been studied, by relating one trigram to the other. So this section I'm pointing to is the first sun. So if we look on the outer trigrams, they're arranged in a set order. The darkest is towards the greatest darkness, and the brightest is towards the greatest brightness. And it starts at the greatest darkness. If you look on the outside, it'll start the first line broken, top line broken, solid, broken, solid, broken, solid, broken, solid. It'll stay like that. And the next one will be 2 broken, 2 solid, 2 broken, 2 solid, 4 broken, 4 solid. So this will always give you the correct order if you do this. You have the broken all at the darkest, all broken at the top of the side. And then you just put broken solid, broken solid, broken solid around, then 2 by 2, then 4 by 4. You'll have this natural order of the 8 trigrams on the outside. So often these are interpreted as the inner trigram and the outer trigram, or the personal world and the outer world, are they? So this is the first son's relationship to the mother, to the third son, to the second son, to the first daughter, to the first son, to the second daughter, to the third daughter, and to the father. So each family member has a relationship to every other family member and to itself, which gives 8 more divisions. So these 8 divisions will fit between December 22nd and the middle of Aquarius, 15 degrees of Aquarius, about February 5th. Then the next trigram, the clinging fire, the clarity of fire, it's the same to the mother, the third son. It has a relationship to each of the family members. And they're arranged in that order, and they fit into different sections of the zodiac. So this gives, for the whole winter, there's 16 hexagrams. There are the 2 signs, the first son, second daughter, and you have the 8 divisions. So you have 16 divisions, and it's divided in the middle of Aquarius. The middle of Aquarius. When you get to the middle of the fixed signs, middle of Aquarius, there's a big difference between the first half of Aquarius and the last half of Aquarius. It's a noticeable difference. The first half is it's like if you have the eightfold zodiac, there's no fixed signs. You have cardinal and you have mutable. It's driving or it's adapting. The fixed signs just happen to be the mixture of half driving and half mutable. They're in the middle. They have both signals a little more fixed. But really, when you look at it, the first half is a little more pushy, a little more assertive, and the last half of Aquarius will be a little bit more adaptable. Okay, so these things, there's a lot of ways you can see this, but it's just trying to make sense of this little drawing and how it fits to the zodiac. A long way to go today. We come up this far, and then you see the same with each of the The third daughter is a joyous lake for Aries and half of Taurus, has the 8 trigrams. Again, you see them starting with the 3 broken, and they go along to the 3 solid at the brightest half, and they're arranged accordingly. And then from the middle of Taurus to the end of Gemini, you have the father, the most creative, the brightest time of the year, and you have the 8 trigrams set up. Now, something different when you switch over to solstice, because if you're looking from the solstice on, it'll be the brightest side, the light side of Cancer, or the summer will be closer to the solstice. So there's almost a mirror image happening here. You get the 3 solid lines come first, and the 3 broken lines are in the darkest half, and the trigrams are organized solid, broken, solid, broken, solid, broken, and so 2 solid, solid, broken, broken, solid, solid, broken, broken, or solid, 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 broken, broken. So they're still arranged, but they're they become a mirror image of what's on the other side. So you'll see this solid on the bright side, the light half, the lightest side of that division, and the darkest side of that 8th, or of that department. So you have the first daughter to the 8 family members and they're to herself, and the second son to the 8 family members to herself. Then the third son is in the fall, and then the fourth son. The mother is from the great. It goes up to the greatest darkness. So you see the lightest half of the dark part is the middle of Scorpio, but the darkest half is the end of Sagittarius, just before 22nd. So the 2 dark halves are together, the 2 light halves are together, like when you're looking at the drawing. But this is I'm just pointing this out so you can see how it's organized. And this can be reconstructed. If you just didn't know how to book, you could sit down and write these things out fairly easily. The inner part, the 4 seasons you have in all of your astrology. The 8 we've just added, and now we're adding another layer. The 8 trigrams on top of that, another layer of depth, another worksheet to do. But we don't have worksheets for these, you have to build it up. So they're just showing again a similar thing. How it's set up. Now the 8 line, there's 8 lines and 3 degrees, 8 trigrams, 3 degrees, 24 lines, and 24 lines. So there's a puzzle here, because when you get the 16 lines going across 90 degrees, there's a puzzle. There's 360 degrees in the Zodiac and 384 lines in the I Ching. So we know that these points, the equinoxes, solstice, in the middle of fixed signs are fixed, and the system is set up exactly like this. They're saying the same things. They become a little distinct, or seemingly distinct, as you get trying to make the line. The lines don't seem to correspond to the degrees. But here we put the 2 and we see the winter. And we don't really see them as degrees in this drawing, but really if you were to imagine, I'm just going to see if you can see me, what you're looking at. Okay. So if you imagine the trigrams are like this, the hexagrams are like this, and if they both tip over, their towers that both lean over towards the middle of the fixed signs. They go like that. So and then when they're lying on their side, you would have them literally being the degrees of the Zodiac. You would see them as the degrees of the Zodiac, but we have a drawing of this. So this goes along now. The other thing I want to point out is where these two align like this, the 2 hexagrams come like this, they move and they come into a line like this. They overlap each other. So at this point, the 3 broken lines here and the 3 solid lines and 3 broken, the father and mother unite at the middle of the fixed signs. The cardinal and the mutable, they're united. These lines can essentially become neutral lines, and it balances. And then when that happens, there's a line to a degree. So there's a special thing. It only happens in these 4 places. It happens a couple other places, but not uniformly across 4 ways. So this happens in this place. 3 solid, 3 broken, right beside each other. They kind of neutralize each other. Explain this further as we go. Then we have the trigrams of the joyous lake of springtime, the light half of springtime.